Hey, what are we talking about today on Get Booked, Jennifer?
Love triangles!
Woohoo! So Love Triangles is another square on our January book bingo. So all of the books we picked today highlight that. Some of them highlight more, will help you read the strategy. And also just get you some good books. Do you want to go first?
I do want to go first. I have a very special first book.
I might have challenged Jennifer to do this book. She knows it's not my favorite. But I have read all three.
Okay, wait. Hold that thought. It was already on my list when we just talked about love triangles, because it's like the biggest love triangle book, minus the book 2. And P.S. there are 4 books in the series.
Oh, that's right, because the new one just came out over the summer.
No.
No?
So there's Twilight.
Right.
There's New Moon.
Yeah.
Eclipsed.
Yeah.
Breaking Dawn. Then there's that weird short story like Bree Turner.
Oh, that's right.
And now there's Midnight Sun.
So there's like 5. So, I read all 4. I don't know why. My brain just like wants to make it a trilogy. I think it's because it's so many pages, but really it's just a trilogy's worth.
Okay, so this one, vampires, werewolves, are you team Jacob? Are you team Edward? This was like the biggest YA book series for a very long time, and it was the very biggest question on everyone's mind. Which team were you? So which team were you? Were you team Edward or Jacob? I'm not going to ask you that because that's just bad.
I actually do have an answer to this question though.
I know you do. Alright, tell us.
I'm team Jacob.
Oh.
Wait, what did you think I was going to say?
I don't want to know. I actually started out as team Jacob too, I think, most of the way. And then the end, the Jacob thing is just kind of...
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that.
No.
Anyways. So sadly, I was just looking, this book is 498 pages, so it does not make the book over 500 page cutoff.
It's okay, fam. I got you. So I've got another YA book. This is Nic Stone's Odd One Out. Nic Stone has come up... I can talk. Nic Stone has become a very popular YA author. She's written some great books like Dear Martin and Dear Justice just came out recently. So this one is about 3 friends. So it's a guy and 2 girls. He has his best friend who they've been friends forever. He has a crush on her. Of course, he's never really told her that. And then all of a sudden there's this new girl in school who becomes friends with them. And then like she gets a crush on her. And so like he's crushing on her. She's crushing on the other girl. And like nobody's talking to each other about their crushes. So what can go wrong? So this is a pretty good one.
Alright, my next one is probably the other very biggest YA love triangle. So Hunger Games. This one is Catching Fire, book 2. We've got, are you team PETA or are you team Gale? Do you have an answer for that one?
Oh, I'm kind of team neither on that one.
I can see that.
They both do some really cool things, and they both do some really dumb things. So I'm always just like, girl, date yourself.
So I think for a long time I was team Gale, and then like the 3rd book came out, and I was like, ooh. And also like, it's such a traumatic experience. I think like PETA is the one that can obviously relate to that, and so I feel like it ended the way it was supposed to end, but it's still very hard.
Yes, cool.
Love triangles can be very hard.
On a more uplifting note, at least on an irresponsible note, I've got Scott Pilgrim and His Precious Little Life. So if you haven't read this one, it's great. It's a comic that's in like it has like a manga style. It's not backwards though, but the author definitely has like a lot of like manga type stuff with the art. Scott Pilgrim is a 20-something. He's kind of a loser. He lives with his best friend Wallace, who's gay, who has a much better love life than Scott. But Scott starts dating Knives Shao, who is I think Knives is like 15 or 16, a high school girl, so that everybody's like, Scott, no. But then he meets Roberta Flowers, and so he starts dating Roberta, but neither Knives or Roberta know he's dating both of them. What could go wrong? Well, there's like 8 volumes, so you can find out. It's pretty great. It has a lot of like really cool comic book and movie references, as well as video game references too. Like Crash and the Boys is actually like an allusion to an old NES game. And so it's adorable, it's delightful. Will Scott grow up and learn to be a better person? I don't know, you're just gonna have to read it.
Alright, next I've got P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. Our copy was checked out. So if you've seen the show on Netflix, it's amazing. The third one drops February 12th, I think.
Oh, that's soon.
It is. The trailer's really cute.
I still need to watch the second one.
So this is for you. In book 2, you know, Laura Jean is still really into Peter, but there's some troubles. And then she finds that John Ambrose got his letter, and maybe he's into her, and so maybe she's into him. And
is that the kid from camp?
No, they used to be. He used to be at the school, and then he moved away. They were like really good friends.
Okay, it was that kid. Sorry,
it's really cute.
So my next one, this is a love triangle that's been around since like the 50s. It's Archie comics. Will Archie date Betty? Will Archie date Veronica? How about both at the same time and they won't know? Hijinks. So this is the updated Archie comics. They've kind of updated it to like a more modern format, so they're more, you know, and they have cell phones and whatnot. And the plots are a little bit more three-dimensional as opposed to the two-dimensional, like, let's get in the jalopy and go to Pop's soda shop. So there's more stuff going on. But like I said, Archie is probably like one of the, you know, I guess original pop culture love triangles.
That's true. Alright, my next pick is the Selection series. This is actually book 2, because book 1 was checked out. This is the Elite. I love the pretty girl dresses on the covers. So this is kind of like a Hunger Games meets The Bachelor, sort of. There is a bunch of girls who have been chosen to win the hand of the prince. And America is not your typical princessy type girl. She has a very serious boyfriend, but she wants to play the game in order to survive in the game. The longer she survives, the more money her parents get, and then she will be able to feed her family. So part of it is she just wants to continue in the game as long as she can, and part of it is, well, maybe I could be a princess. So it's kind of a dystopian part to it as well. So they're really fun.
Cool. So my next one is Furyborn by Legrand. This one actually might be, it's over 500 pages. It is 500 and, it's 494, my bad.
It's Twilight of them.
I know, it's got like a glossary and the acknowledgements if you want to go that. If you want to cheat and say the acknowledgements, it's 501. I read that. Yeah. So
I like to know who they're thanking.
I do too. Also, sometimes you get like a little cool like backstory trivia tidbit. Anyway, so this is Claire Legrand's Furyborn. This is a great book if you're into like a high fantasy story. It actually does check off a couple of boxes on our list. One of the characters is bisexual in it. It has an alternating timeline. So part of the mystery of the book when you're reading it is is Rael's story in the past or is it the future? And then the other girl, what is her name? Eliana Ferracora. Is she the future? Like where you're like, when is the present? What is now? And there's a prophecy, because really great fantasy books have prophecies. And so the question is the prophecy for Rael or is the prophecy for Eliana? And you don't actually get the answer to that question, because then you gotta read books 2 and 3. Which the whole trilogy is out. So if you're looking to sink your teeth into like a very good high fantasy that does, in both books, still go back and forth in the timeline. So it has those parallel narrative? Is that what our square is?
Yeah.
That is the thing. And so the love triangle actually happens with Rael, that she is the best friend to the princess that is supposed to marry the crown prince. But she is also in love with the crown prince, and the crown prince is in love with kind of both of them. And so there's a question of like, how is this going to like work out? Like, and is the best friend okay with it? Is the best friend not okay with it? Like, there's a lot of like things about like your station in life and how you need to stay where you're at. Also, she's a magic user, and she's apparently one of the most powerful magic users, but she has a temper. So there's a lot of issues, and things explode and blow up and don't go quite the way everyone thought they were going to be. There's also angels that come down and talk to Rael and to Eliana. Or wait, no, Eliana doesn't meet the angels in this thing. I think it's the second one. But the angels aren't what we would consider like biblical angels. These are more like demony angels that are out for more like world domination. So it's, like I said, it does flip back and forth in time, so it's a little confusing, but that's kind of part of the mystery of the book. So if you're in for it, it's a very intense good read. So
nice. Alright, I'm switching gears to adults. So one of my favorite love triangles is Janet Evanovich's Stephanie Plum series. So I think we just finished volume 27. So Stephanie is a bounty hunter. She's absolutely terrible at it, but like things happen and she does usually get her person. She has a really fun sidekick named Lulu, who is great. She's probably one of my favorite characters. And Grandma Mazer, oh my god, Grandma Mazer is amazing.
wait, how does Grandma Mazer fit into it? Is she just the grandma that gives advice, or?
Advice. She likes to go, so it's in New Jersey, they go to funeral homes a lot because that's the social scene. So Grandma has a very colorful language. She packs a gun sometimes in her purse. Like, she's just really fun. They're also a big Italian area, so it's just really fun. So
is it like mob stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the love triangle is between Joe Morelli, who's a cop, and Ranger, who is the guy that Stephanie calls when she needs really big help grabbing, like, the big bad people for the bounty hunters. And he always helps her. And he does give her cars when her cars blow up, and there's a lot of things that happen, like, every book. It's great. It's very funny, very fast-paced, and she still hasn't chosen. I don't think she'll ever choose until, like, the end of the series.
I keep meaning to read these books, because I feel like it'd be a very good, like, I need a book to just kind of, like, distract me from life book.
They're very
It's a quick
funny.
read.
They make me laugh out loud. Like, there's times when I'm just crying because they're just funny.
Cool. So, my next book that I'm going to talk about, it's in our YA section, but technically it's new adult. This is, we think, once a year we ask ourselves, should we move this to the adult fantasy collection? Because this author has actually moved out of YA fantasy and is writing adult fantasy. So, it is Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is very different from the Throne of Glass series. Each one of the, well, I take that back. The first two books are based on a, nope, that's not true. All three of them in the trilogy. There's four now.
The first one is based off of, like, a Beauty and the Beast retelling.
Yeah, the second one is based off the idea of Persephone having to be stuck in hell for 6 months of the year, and then back on Olympus for 6 months. And then the third one deals a lot with, like, Welsh mythology with the cauldron.
I don't think I would put that together. Interesting.
But the Persephone?
No, the other one, the Welsh one.
I don't know if I would have, but I was a big Lord Alexander kid when growing up. And the Black Cauldron, it's all based on the Welsh mythology.
The Mabagoni.
Yes, I don't know all of it because I didn't have access to those nonfiction books that told me about things. Grew up in a small place. No internet. But,
from a Welsh community. I'm part Welsh, so.
yeah, I am not. I'm part Scotch, Irish, and Lebanese. Totally different mythology. So, anyway, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Our lead character, what is her name?
Farah?
Yeah, Farah. She comes from a family of, like, her dad was, like, a businessman. He lost all his money. His mom died. She has two sisters who were, like, one's fine. The other one's, like, pretty miserable, so she takes it out on Farah and the other sister. She's kind of the only, I guess you would say, productive member of the family that's, like, out there trying to hunt, trying to make sure they're fed, doing what she can to make a little bit of cash for the family. She is out in the woods one day and she shoots a wolf. And it turns out the wolf is not any other wolf. It is actually one of the Fae from across the border, which no humans ever go. And so, as a price, she has to give her life to Tamrin to live across the wall in his castle with her, like, for however long, probably her life, that he'll spare her family. And so she does it, and I think the family isn't actually aware of what happens. It's like she just disappears all of a sudden.
I think so.
Yeah. And so Tamron seems to be like, you know, such a great guy. But then in the middle of all this, she also meets Rhysand. He's like this mysterious stranger she meets at like they have like some kind of like Beltane ceremony or something. And Rhys is just like the bad boy. And so she's like, oh, but I love Tamron. Oh, but maybe I love Rhysand. And then everything goes sideways and the book gets crazy. And when I first read this book, I was like, I hate this book, so stupid. I hate this, whatever. And Jennifer was like, what? This book's amazing. And then I read the second one, and I was like, I'm all in. Hilariously, we gave each other Christmas presents based on this book series.
We're big Sarah J. Maas fans.
We are.
If you haven't noticed.
They're just very compelling.
They are. Alright, so, of course I picked a Jane Austen love triangle. There's actually 2 love triangles in this, which I forgot about.
I stayed away from Jane Austen just for you.
So, Sense and Sensibility. I grabbed this one because it's actually the screenplay, which I thought was kind of fun. So you get some fun pictures from the movie, and then you get the screenplay that Emma Thompson wrote. So, we do have the novel upstairs though. So, love triangles. We've got Colonel Brandon, Marianne, and Willoughby. And then you've got Edward Ferrars and Eleanor and Lucy Seal. Ugh, she's terrible too.
She's very terrible.
So, you've got a couple love triangles in that one, and who doesn't love a good Jane Austen?
I think Sensibility was the first Jane Austen book I read.
I read Emma because I'm clueless.
Of course she did. So I've got a romance book. It was a Reese Witherspoon's book club pick. One Day in December by Josie Silver. So in this one, basically girl meets boy at the bus stop or something, and makes an impression, but then like she doesn't actually ever like find out his name or like, his number, or like, she didn't get his digits. You know, nothing happens. But you know, he's kind of like the one that got away that never was. And then all of a sudden, like a year later, her best friend is like, oh, I want you to be your boyfriend. It's the guy. So it's like, you know, does he stay with the girlfriend? Does he go with the other protagonist? Like, what will happen? I don't know. It's a romance book, so probably it's positively. So maybe.
Well, it's a romance, but it does end positively.
I think it wasn't in a romance section, so it could go either way, folks.
Oh,
That's the mystery there.
tricky. Alright, I've got another classic. Bridget Jones' Diary. Do you go with Mark Darcy? I was like, call him birth character. Mark Darcy. Or the other guy, which I'm blanking on. What was the other guy's name?
Is he the Bingley character?
Yeah, he's the terrible guy.
Is it Charlie Bingley?
No. Wow.
I can't remember.
It's her
It's
boss.
been 20 years since I've read Bridget Jones' Diary. I know it's based on Sense and Sensibility. Pride and Prejudice, my bad. We just talked about Sense and
Darcy.
Sensibility. It's Pride and Prejudice.
I forget the guy's name. Oh,
The
that's
Hugh
gonna
Grant
bug me.
character, right?
Yes, it's the Hugh Grant character. So, Colin Firth character or the Hugh Grant character? Who's gonna pick? That's gonna bug me forever.
Cool. Alright, so my last book is actually one of our book club kids. It's a very good book. It was also Oprah's book club pick. It is Tayari Jones's An American Marriage. This book is so good. It is very serious, though. And it's just incredibly well done. And basically, the main character, Newlywed Celestial and Roy are the embodiment of both the American dream and the New South. So he's a young business executive, she's an artist. He's originally, I think, from Alabama, and they are both African American. She kind of grew up from a family in like the good suburbs in Atlanta, so she's kind of got a little bit more money behind her. He's more of like a self-starter. His folks are like, I want to say more like working class. They go to visit his folks in Alabama, and they stay in like a motel or something for whatever reason, and the police knock on the door in the middle of the night and pull him out of bed, and a woman has accused him of rape and says that's the man that did it. It's not. He just gets accused of it, and unfortunately he goes to jail. So the love triangle that happens, like there's letters that go back and forth, but she ends up kind of falling for the best friend that kind of steps in to try and help out when he's in prison. So there's a kind of the question of like when he gets out of prison, what is life going to be like for both of them? So it's a really good examination of race in America and how racial discrimination in our justice system also works too, because there's plenty of evidence that he didn't do it. So it's just having to live with the aftermath of that. It's very, very good. So we actually did it for our book club, I think, like 2 years ago. What's your last one? I know you've been reading this one.
My last one. I am so close to finishing. It's called The Lions of Fifth Avenue, and the cover is so pretty. I love it. So this actually is a dual timeline, dual narrative, or parallel narrative, I guess is what we call it.
I think this one has dual as well.
It's about a woman in like the 1913s. She and her husband actually live in the New York Public Library. Her husband is like the superintendent of the building, and so they and their two kids live in this apartment. There are some rare books that go missing. She is just kind of like learning that she doesn't really want everything that her husband wants. And, you know, it's a time of change in New York City, and so she meets some women, and they kind of have different ideas, and she's like, huh, that's interesting. So the love triangle is between a woman she meets during these meetings that she's attending and her husband. But there's also, so the parallel story is her granddaughter is working at the New York Public Library, and she's in charge of this collection, and books are again going missing, and she's trying to figure out like what happened, and she hasn't really told people certain things about her past, like she's the granddaughter of this woman, and so there's a lot of little mysteries. It's really good. I'm so close to finishing. I just want to crawl into my office and read for the rest of the afternoon, but I won't, because that would be bad.
Alright, so that's Love Triangles with Mary and Jennifer for your January book bingo square. Who knows what we will talk about next week?
What new bingo we'll have for February.
Oh, hopefully we'll have them.